that note, I want to say that for his profile to be played out and to be read, he will come to the podium and stand while his profile is being played on, and after that he's going to take the lecture proper. He's not going to go back to his seat, so everything will come together with him. I'm inviting our guest speaker, chairman, editorial board of the Nation newspaper, journalist, author of many books, so many books, right when I was growing up, and the world-renowned columnist, which I can testify, Mr. Sam Omatseye.
Afrikanwatch network over the years has maintained high moral standard from promoting national building to economic and social values, thereby fostering egalitarian society of hope and dream actualization. Ladies and gentlemen, to deliver today's lecture titled The Nigerian Leadership Structure and Its Unsung National Heroes is a man whose path in journalism is not only divine but ordained. Ordained because his writings are factual, principled, and ethical. In fact, rich in content with plausible concepts. Yes, Mr. Sam Omatseye is one of the Nigeria's most celebrated media personalities whose earnest contributions to the country's development cannot be quantified. He is a poet, novelist, playwright, and provident journalist of repute, who on his hard work and ability received the National Productivity Order of Merit Award in 2019, conferred on him by former President Muhammadu Buhari. The media icon has been in the media space since 1987, when he worked as a reporter and researcher at the Newswatch magazine and covered a variety of beats from foreign affairs to culture. In 1988, he had a stint as a staff writer with the African Concord magazine during the era of former military dictator General Ibrahim Babangida retired. Mr. Omatseye became the deputy political editor of the Concord newspaper in 1989 with specific assignments to help lead the coverage of the rigmarole of the political transition program of the Babangida years in power. In 1990, he was selected by the United States Information Service to cover the off-year elections. He worked for 6 weeks in the country, including an attachment with the Kansas City Star in Missouri. He was appointed managing editor, Abuja Bureau of Concord newspaper in 1993, and he covered the June 12th election crisis, but later left the town that year after being subjected to military surveillance from dawn to dusk. In 1996, he served as editorial page editor for This Day newspaper. He became deputy editor, Sunday Concord, in 1996 after the Concord newspaper group was unbanned. From 1998 to 2006, he taught media and journalism at the Metropolitan State College of Denver. He also taught classes and gave talks at the University of Colorado and the University of Denver, among others. From 2006 till date, he has been the chairman, editorial board of Nation newspaper, where he oversees the opinion section of the newspaper and runs a weekly column, In Touch. He was appointed a member of Governing Council of the Lagos State University. The media star has been a frequent commentator on television and radio shows regarding contemporary Nigerian issues. He hosted a television show, Standpoint, on TVC, hosted The Platform, an EDG political program that airs every Saturday on TVC, but now on hold. Recently, he was an anchor at TVC Breakfast Show. Mr. Omatseye won the Nigerian Media Merit Award in 1991 as the best reporter for coverage of the military air crash in Ejibo, Lagos. He was beaten by soldiers for daring to go through military cordon to capture the visual horror and drama of the tragedy. In 1992, he was the first ever winner of the Gordon N. Fisher Fellowship for Journalists in the Commonwealth Award and was in full academic year at the University of Toronto, Canada. In 1997, he won the Alfred Friendly Press Fellowship. Under the terms, he worked as a journalist with the Rocky Mountain News and also won the Association of Black Journalists Award for features writing, including the prestigious Script Award Prize for Deadline Reporting. Others are a finalist for Denver Press Club Prize, Nigerian Media Merit Award for Columnist of the Year 3 times, and was also finalist 3 times, the Daemon Award for Media Excellence 4 times for Informed Commentary, Government College, Ughelli, Excellence Award, and Afrikanwatch Network Lifetime Media Achievement Award. He is an honorary fellow of the Nigerian Academy of Letters and a Paul Harris Fellow by the Rotary Club International. Mr. Omatseye has written several books. The recent ones are Juju Eyes, My Name is Okoro, Obito, Beating All Odds. There is an issue of how Bola Tinubu became the president. To conclude this commentary, it behooves on us to pay tribute to some of the personalities who have delivered Afrikanwatch lecture in the past. They include General Dr. Oviamo Ovaje, OFR, retired, Professor Latunde Babawale, Dr. Tunji Abayomi, Barrister Colonel Abayomi Dare, retired, Mr. Dennis Omakiri, Amoen, Professor Timothy Ate, Professor Solomon Akimboye, Professor Hope Angaga, among others. May we now invite the Oracle of Letters, Mr. Sam Omatseye, to deliver the lecture.
Thank you very much, and I want to say I feel honored to stand before you to deliver this lecture, and I will go straight to it. The topic of this lecture, as advertised, is the Nigerian leadership structure and its unsung heroes. I beg to recalibrate it and cast it in my own light. I therefore want to call it Daemon and Demons, Nigeria's search for a genuine hero. And the two demons are spelled differently. One is with an A and the other one is without an A. A few years ago, I asserted at this event that Nigeria never had a founding father, or shall we say, a founding hero in the true sense of the word. In my lights, I thought that though the main Trojans of the nationalist fight should draw plaudits for shooing the white man away from our soil, They did not in their own individual souls represent Nigeria but their ethnic strongholds. I argued that Obafemi Awolowo, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Sir Ahmadu Bello and others exercised courage in the maelstrom years of the struggle. Their nationalist soldiery was on behalf of slivers of the Nigerian soul. The trio fought with suspicions of their fellow gunslingers. Hence, we had to struggle with the laws, especially since the Richards Constitution, as well as the episodes we had with the resistance to Chief Anthony Enahoro's call for independence before we actually had it in 1960. We also saw the battle between Awolowo and Azikiwe over the control of the Western region and how it led to temperamental meltdowns. Before that, we witnessed the battle over the Nigerian youth movement leadership and how machetes glistened in the streets of Lagos in the rages between the Yorubas and the Igbos, with Zik and Awolowo not in the center of the mutual ill will to rein in the tempers, but they drew swords at the ethnic corners of the ring. I picked the words demon without an A and demons with an A for effect and for meaning. It thrills me as a literary man, but it is even more potent for a second reason. In this age and setting where we blame the electricity of village witchcraft for everything that happens to us, from the front door stumble to the fly on the window, I thought our people will appreciate my bucolic metaphor. In these parts, demon with an A was played up by Wole Soyinka in his translation of Fagunwa's Magical Tales. Not many see the difference between demon with an A and demon in the Nigerian raconteur of the Yoruba epistemological narratives. Some thought Soyinka misspelled the word. Others thought the man of letters was just being cute. A few serious readers actually thought he invented the word as an act of rebellion in the spirit of negritude. What else would one expect to see in a forest in Africa but 1,000 demons, evil spirits prancing about at night meetings, choking babies, maiming destinies, setting husbands and wives apart and ablaze, and making the concept of love more of a fable than a fact in the council of elders? But the word demon with an A has been in the language centuries before Soyinka. He appropriated it for Fagunwa and to defrock the tail of any Judeo-Christian hegemony, which he could not, however, escape. When Socrates, often described as the father of Western philosophy, was accused of corrupting the youth, he said he was only listening to his demon with an A. The demon he was referring to was a voice he claimed to have heard dictating his ferocious ideas, and he seemed under the spell of that demon with an A. In Plato's Apology, he clarified that viewpoint as clear as possible. So when I say that we have to differentiate demon with an A from demon without an A for the purpose of this essay, I am hinting at a sore in the Nigerian conscience. How hard is it to find a true Nigerian hero? I will say it is not very hard, but it is because it is not very hard that it seems easy. But it is because it seems very easy that it has eluded us. For our purpose today, who is a hero? Again, I should ask, who is a shiro, as the female version, or heroine? The word derives from the Greek word heros, and it means defender or protector. The idea of that word, in actual sense, is grander than its definition. It usually refers to persons, male or female, who have exercised great courage and cunning in the face of danger. And it is not just courage, but what some call recklessness. There are not many in any era who perform feats that fit such descriptions. And not all heroes are of the same class or category. When I refer to hero in the Nigerian context, I'm working in the strictly cultural or political domain. This is because we have had genuine heroes in other aspects, but when we stride into the political, we stumble. You notice that when I addressed the idea of the founding father, it was in strictly political terrain. In a number of areas, we have had genuine heroes accepted by all as truly ours. We have seen this especially in the area of sports. During Olympics, we seek the athlete who will do us all proud. The most gorgeous moments in my young life have been 3 times. The first was in the All-African Games Soccer Gold 1973, when Nigeria beat Ghana 2-0. The second was in 1980, when we won the contest with Christian Chukwu as captain in the Cup of Nations. The third was when we won the Olympic gold under the wizardry of Kanu Nwankwo. That was in 1996. The most touching for me was the 1973 jewelry, and my favorite hero was Haruna Ilerika. I did not ask, I'm sure some of the young people here may not know him, but I know all those who are about my age or a bit younger know who Haruna Ilerika was. I did not ask what part of Nigeria he hailed from, and I did not care. He was my Nigerian hero. In fact, when I was playing soccer as a young man in government college, anytime I handled the ball and I beat somebody, I would say, Haruna Ilerika has beaten him. He was my Nigerian hero. To tell you the truth, no other Nigerian in my lifetime, outside my family, generates such power of emotion from me like that fellow. In fact, I met with one of my classmates who I have not seen since over 30 years. And when he first saw me, the first thing he called me was Haruna Ilerika. It was when he died that I read that he hailed from Kwara State. And the tribe, I don't know up to today, and I don't care. Like other persons, I've had heroes and sheroes, and they have come and gone. I will not name anyone, but they often develop chinks in their armor, and I look away. In fact, I often tell people, don't ever meet your hero, because sometimes you get disappointed. I went to the stadium just to see Ilerika in his fading years as a player. His glory days were behind him. He was no longer the player who netted in a free kick that compelled a Moroccan princess to gift him a jewel. And she actually wore it on Ilerika's neck. Not the one Ernest Okonkwo dubbed Danger Man, or the player for whom fans wafted a song and beat drums, begging him to stop his dribble runs that disgraced many a great danger. They used to say, Haruna Dakunjo. His speed was spent. He had aged past his age. But he was no less my hero. We have had heroes that were for all before they became for some. Suddenly, they become men of a certain tribe. We have seen that in the battle between the followers of Achebe and Soyinka, and it is a shame. Families have heroes like fathers, mothers, aunties, and uncles, even cousins and brothers and sisters. But that is the only level, other than in sports, especially soccer, when we often cherish heroes in this country. I am not here to valorize the cynicism in J.D. Salinger's novel, The Catcher in the Rye, where the main character never meets any role model in his life, including clerics and his uncle. They all disappointed him. I like to believe it is possible. But families produce heroes in the smaller sense. As I noted earlier, heroes are of different grades. The family hero is blood and flesh. But when Shakespeare said in Julius Caesar that, quote, "In the spirit of man, there is no blood," unquote, he was referring to the sense of power that you find in a true believer. Our sort of hero here transcends blood ties. Not the father's blood, not the auntie's blood. It is a power above the earth. This is what the Spirit is. Jesus told his apostles, "A spirit has no flesh, blood, or bones, as you see me have." That is the quality of the hero I'm talking about. But that kind of hero can abide in a tribe and community where blood ties, when they exist, can also be remote. Intermarriage is evidence of that. A man who fights to defend a village or clan or tribe can also be a hero, a genuine hero. No one can dispute the necessity of such a hero. So we can talk of an Ishekiri hero like Nana, or Fulani hero like Amadu Bello, or an Igbo hero like Zig, or Yoruba hero like Awo. Over time, we have had such heroes around the world. Caesar was a Roman hero, Solon was a Greek hero, Garibaldi was an Italian hero, Bismarck was a German hero, Napoleon was a French hero. All of these heroes are insular heroes with universal appeal. They were heroes that we can describe as tribal. They spoke the language of their people and drank from the same cultural pool. In fact, Napoleon almost became that sort of hero. It was argued that across Europe, he became a sort of model. Young people wanted to be like him. As the essayist Ralph Waldo Emerson writes on Napoleon, quote, "If any man is found to carry with him the power and affections of vast numbers, if Napoleon is France, if Napoleon is Europe, it is because the people whom he sways are little Napoleons." In his novel Crime and Punishment, Russian writer Fyodor Dostoevsky fashions his main character, Raskolnikov, after one of such little Napoleons, a Nietzschean soul with a will to power. Maybe that is the problem with us as a nation. We have ethnic heroes. We are looking for heroes that rise above family, clan, faith, and tribe. This leads me to define a grander vision of a hero. A hero encases the sensibility of his people, or of his or her people. He feels the same. He thinks the same way. He rejoices the same way. The taste buds are the same way. They laugh to the same sort of jokes. For instance, I was in a party in the United States, a Nigerian party, and we had a few white persons in attendance. So a Nigerian makes a joke, and all the Nigerians laugh full belly laughs, not the Oyibos. One of the Oyibos, whispers to me to explain the joke to her. It was hard to translate the words in American, but there was something in the nuance of the telling that only a Nigerian could catch it. In another case, in Colorado, a Nigerian who was delivering pizza had a lot of calls to deliver pizza one evening. He wondered aloud what was going on that the demand was so high. And the locals told him, and I was in the newsroom when that happened, and the locals told him it was the last episode of Seinfeld, the comedy show in the US. He asked why. Then all of them laughed. The Nigerians' apparent indifference or lack of understanding was, for many Americans that evening, one of the side episodes of Seinfeld that night. They could not understand why one could not laugh at a Seinfeld joke. Seinfeld, the lead actor, went to Britain, and the Brits didn't even find him funny. A Hispanic lady once told me that the only objection she had to Nigerian cuisine was that our meat was too hard. I had no qualms in letting her know that it was the right texture for egusi soup. A white lady said Nigerian parties are too noisy. And I said, that is why we call it party. So when we can see how you cannot be a hero in a society in which you are not in good humor. That's what the chairman was talking about the cultural basis of anything that we want to do in a society. Without culture, everything is lost. What does that tell us? That Nigerians have many things that bind us together than separate us. If you walk on the street in Europe and see a Nigerian, without hearing them speak or eat, you are likely to identify them. So, to be a hero, you must develop a kinship with the people. To lead, you must feel. A hero is not just that, but one who is ready to give their all to that society. To do that, you must not regret in advance if you die for them. You must note that a true hero does not seek death. That is suicide. As the author of The Name of the Rose, Umberto Eco, wrote, quote, "A real hero is always a hero by mistake," unquote. Dele Giwa, the journalist, died a hero because he believed in the justice of his acts. Yet, he was once quoted as saying that, quote, "I don't want to be anyone's hero," unquote. He was not just a journalistic hero, he ended up a hero for the conscience of a generation. This sort of definition has been complicated by Shakespeare in his play Coriolanus. A war hero arrives and his people want to see his scar before they truly honor him. He says they don't need to see it. He's saying the spirit of patriotic soldiery should not be washed away by fleshly evidence. For him, the people did not know the quality of the hero. So, heroism can be futile. You must not only be a hero, you must be known to be one. Or, should you? When Awo fought for independence, for instance, he was an ethnic hero in my life. But when his work was done on earth, he had risen to a Nigerian hero. I say so because he was able to set a standard for leadership that everyone emulates, whether north, south, east, west, in spite of region or tongue. I still believe he is the greatest Nigerian ever born. Catholics wait sometimes up to 50 years to make a person a saint. The American president Harry Truman was not seen as a consequential president until the historian David McCullough retrieved him from the archives. So when I say that to generate a Nigerian hero is closer than we think, it is this sameness in many parts that fascinates me and emboldens me. Yet, incidents tell us often that it is like Tantalus. We see the fruit on the tree, our hands are close to plucking it, and then we miss it. Two things problematize this struggle for a hero, and sometimes it makes me wonder whether we truly want a Nigerian hero, or we just are cultural masochists, or love to fight, or we are partisans of Sisyphus, who, in the thinking of Albert Camus, are happy to keep taking the rock up the hill and never getting there. Recently, a debate led me to this thinking. Some people started saying that the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu is guilty of Yorubanization. The voices started with a northerner, Senator Ali Ndume, and it drew quite some attention. After I said it, commentaries came forth from the east and parts of South-South. The presidency reacted and brought out statistics that turned out to be flawed. I personally took the initiative as a journalist and contacted the Federal Character Commission for the real numbers. In my column with The Nation, I interrogated the subject. I noted that during the Buhari era, the North Central had 110, while Tinubu raised it to 137. The Northeast had 102, and now they have 91. The Northwest had 127, but has now 134. The Southeast stayed almost the same, fell from 71 under Buhari to 70 now. South-South rose marginally from 71 to 79. Southwest had a sharp rise from 91 to 146. In aggregate, the North has a total of 339 to the South. As today, the North has 339 to the South, today having 233. I also observed that if anyone wants to complain, it is not a man like Ali Ndume. When Ali Ndume was complaining about Central Bank over a year ago about they coming south, he was acting as though he was a champion of fairness. So I was one that challenged him that what he was saying was irresponsible, and he sent me a note saying that I should apologize. Then I shot back after investigating that he had relatives who were working, who he put in Central Bank. And when I told him that he should apologize. It was then he came out to say that he actually had relatives in the Central Bank. The man is irresponsible. I would have said the South-South and the Southeast should be up in arms, but they too, and I am from South-South, should exercise a sense of history. Not long ago, when Goodluck Jonathan was president, our Southwest brothers called Jonathan Azikiwe on the ground of his favoritism. His main beneficiaries were either from the Southeast or South-South, and he had no compunction about it. No one complained at that time about lopsided profile of jobs. In fact, the British press wrote vivid stories of Nigerians of a certain extraction on a shopping mania, buying up high streets in London. That was the Jonathan effect. And in fact, the minister coordinating the economy at that time, what's her name there? Okonjo-Iweala, was making a lot of points that it turned out that all those taking the tests and winning positions in government, he said the only people only who were passing all the tests were from the Southeast. So I said, okay, fair enough. If that is the case, then tell us how you recruited those people who were taking the test, who were assessing them, and she never said anything after that. So Ayim was secretary to the Federation, and he should tell us if he did not give more jobs to his kinsmen and some South-South fellows than anywhere else in the country. In fact, I know of an Urobo man, a very prominent Urobo man for that matter, I don't want to mention his name, who he would not allow to do a second term because he had to replace him with his kinsman. I wrote this in my column and challenged Ayim to deny it. He wouldn't talk to the day. We cannot forget, I mentioned the point of Okonjo-Iweala. The idea of federal character should not be seen as a snapshot in time. It has to be seen as a balance over time. The Southwest may seem to have revved up its profile under Tinubu, but when was the last time that happened? Some said the premium jobs have gone to Yorubas. I asked, When was the last time a Yoruba man was CBM chief? Or chief of army staff? Or head of customs? Or head of NNPCL? We have run a historically unbalanced profile of jobs. This is because our leaders over time prefer conflict of tribe to merit, or the abused word fairness. It is for this lack of fairness that we have accepted the idea of zoning the presidency. There was one time I attended the Omatseye award ceremony, and they were giving awards. I discovered that at a certain time they were giving awards to people in South South. At certain times they were giving awards to the North. At certain times they were giving the awards fell to Southwest, and so on. And so I asked the Kuku Peter side, who was at the event. He had left as DG. I said, why was it like that? He said, it's a reflection of who was the DG. So when it was a Yoruba DG, you pick Yoruba man. When it was a South Side DG, you pick South, you employ South people. When it was a Northern DG, they employed Northern DGs. So it became a reflection, not of Nigeria, but the owner of leadership. We don't trust ourselves yet. Imagine if Tinubu were not president. The last time we might have had a Yoruba chief of staff would be about 3 decades ago under Alani Akinrun. I was still in school then. This does not happen at the federal level alone. But before I address that, I remember when Ihejirika served as chief of army staff, he was accused of recruiting more than half of our soldiers from the southeast. As chairman editorial board of the nation, I said he was right. He was trying to catch up since the reputation of the Civil War. The snag, though, was that he had trouble with his kinsmen when it was unearthed that most of the recruits came from his native Abia state. And even today, when we will have another chief of army staff from the east, he will have to also do the recruitment, or maybe force recruitment, because the profile today shows that the representation of the Igbos in the army is even so low, and that they are looking for people to join the army they don't have. But we need to understand that while ethnic balancing is important, it is for most part an elite game. What does the farmer in my mother's village get when somebody from Orogun becomes chief of army staff? In fact, David Ejo was from my mother's village, our first chief of army staff. It did not make us more warriors than we are, or more prosperous. There's nothing if you go to Orogun village that will remind you that you once had a chief of army staff. I recall that when Lee Kuan Yew hosted the Chinese president, he expected the Chinese in Singapore to treat him with folky enthusiasm. It did not happen. The Chinese make up about 74% of the country, while the Indians, Malays, and others make up the rest. But why did they not show solidarity with the Chinese leader? Because tribe was less important than nation. Lee made his country a consciousness. Baba Wale was talking about supranational consciousness. That's what he had here. That is what we should look for. But this is difficult when we have a rotational presidency and each president tries to compensate his people for what the predecessors cheated them over. Until we consciously call a truce, it cannot stop. Meanwhile, the minorities are the worst for it. We see this in the states even. Take Rivers State, for instance. The Queries are the dominant ethnic group, and if any other tribe wins a governor race, it is because the Query themselves decide to vote for them. Hence, Odili became governor. But two Queries followed him, Rotimi Amechi and Nyesom Wike, who cannot sit in the same room without an explosion. Wicked thought the Jaws have been shortchanged, and he muzzled the seat of Fubara. Now, some inquiries are saying they made a mistake. That was why I asked the question whether we are ready for a Nigerian hero. Close as we are to having one. The question is important. The Marxists, as they say, they don't like heroes. They abhor the idea of a hero. Yet, their first hero was Karl Marx. Think about that. We have had Lenin, Castro, Mao, Popper. They are all Marxist heroes. They have been disgraced in public. In his play, Galileo, Bertolt Brecht made a character to assert, quote, "Unhappy is the land that breeds no hero." But another character retorts, "No, Andrea, unhappy is a land that needs a hero," unquote. The argument here is that a society that needs a hero will never make progress if it relies on the exploits of one man. But societies, as history has shown us, has always moved on the backs of big men and sometimes women. Hence, Emerson says, there is properly no history but the biographies of great men, unquote. The snag is that we have looked for heroes all of history, and civilization has too often disappointed. I just read a biography of Ronald Reagan. The book is titled Reagan, His Life and Legend by the well-known writer Max Boot. He is described as one of America's consequential heroes. But as Boot exposes, this is the man that called Africans monkeys who are not comfortable wearing shoes. He even tells somebody, a black politician, that when Africans mean to eat a person, they will really eat that person. I remarked recently that Donald Trump, who called our country a shithole, was supported by our own evangelicals and even invited a gospel singer from Nigeria to entertain an all-white Christian audience who have no respect for the country and the people. Today, the same man is sending his goons after the gospel singer's kinsmen in America, who can hardly go to the churches to worship the same God today, because I think there was even a judgment that says that the ICE, that's the immigration bodies, can go to churches and arrest anybody who is undocumented, as they say, as Prof said. So you can see how it is becoming very dicey. Today's globalization is breeding insular heroes. In Europe, Brexit gave them Boris Johnson, Hungary has Orbán, Italy has Meloni, etc. India has Modi. Modi is fighting with Pakistan now. India's Modi is a Hindu irredentist, and proudly so. Trump has become their hero. I am not sure if we are ready to rise above it and get one who will be above suspicion. That is the word. Suspicion is what stands between us and the hero. But we must get one who must be daring and takes risks on our behalf. As Emerson wrote, a hero is a man who is afraid to run away. A hero is a man who is afraid to run away. He should have the heroics, but not boast of the character. In Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, who says, "The next time I do fight, I will make death love me." Our hero must be ready not to run away from rising above our differences. It is inside the differences that we can become That's what they talk about, unity in diversity. That is where we can banish the demons and hear we can banish the demons without an A and hear the call of the demon with an A. Thank you.